Hi, Erica. I wanted to leave you some feedback on your thesis statement. Um, so I think as a whole, this is working pretty well. I can see a working claim, um, and you're bringing in some evidence of support. Um, so that I could see could potentially work. But there's just a few things here and there that I want to talk to you about to make this stronger. So first off, make sure that you let's talk about some editing concerns. Make sure that you format your title here. So this needs to be in quotation marks, and saying that something is a writing. That's a little vague. So go ahead and say what it is. It's a short story. Um, I think that I like this idea that you're talking about, that it's reason versus emotion, but in here you're getting too vague, right? So a conflict that arises between each of the characters and the actions that took place. I think you're being too vague here. So I would recommend getting more concrete, particularly in your summary details. So, and really what's missing in this paragraph is a clear, objective statement of the main idea before your interpretation of it, right? Before your claim. So I think what's really missing from this opening paragraph is clearly capturing the plot point, the setting, the narrator, all that stuff. That's needed before you make your claim. I think you're saying that this here is your claim right here. I believe that violence in this essay was justifiable. But note that readers really want thesis statements down here at the end of the opening, or excuse me, at the end of the introductory paragraph. So you have a claim, but be certain to be objective. So you need to take out the I believe language, because thesis statements should be objective in tone. And second, you need a reason, right? So if the claim is the violence in this used in this essay is justifiable, why is that, right? I think you're kind of hitting at it here, but you need to put this together to write a complete thesis statement. So in short, you kind of have all the right parts and pieces in your introductory paragraph, but some reorganizing and some revision on the sentence level are needed. Um, I I think that this is a good point here. Um, that you're saying about how, this ties into what we talked about in class, because it ties into how this essay is used in the real world. And so I think that you could really build this point at the paragraph level in your essay, right? To say that what an argument like this essentially does. Um, I like the pieces of evidence, the concrete pieces of evidence that you've brought in. However, I'm going to caution you, because what you're doing here is cherry picking your evidence. So that essentially means that you are only taking out the parts that will support and justify your argument. And skeptical readers are going to recognize that, um, what else he says when he says, perhaps I should have desisted and come back an hour or more later. Um, what he really means by that is that he is so angry. He knows he's going to hurt her, and he knows he's going to make the situation worse. So if you're going to use this evidence, you need to make sure that you're creating the full context. Note that if you do that, it's not going to weaken your argument. It might complicate it a little bit, but in fact, it's going to make it stronger, and it's going to build your credibility with the audience, because it's going to show that you're not worried about complicating the argument, right? Making it pushing it more in that gray area. And that's going to make this be a stronger paper overall. So you really want to be aware of cherry picking your evidence again, right here. I want you to pay attention to the whole context of what's going on in this section of the story, and include both sides of the argument. And if you include both sides of the argument honestly and fairly and accurately, you can still argue what you want to and make it stronger. So like I said before, this is what we would call cherry picking evidence, and that's something that to be avoided. And I know that on a certain level you're like, but I am using evidence to make my point. Yeah, you are, but you want to keep in mind that you can't ignore, the opposing viewpoint. Good arguments incorporate the opposing viewpoint and interact with it fairly and ethically. So that's what you want to do here. And in fact, it's going to give you more to write about, essentially. Okay, so those are my pieces of feedback for you. I think it's working, but like I said before, you've got some tweaking to do in your summary. You've got some tweaking to do in your thesis, and make sure that you're capturing the full context with the evidence that you're using. Okay, I look forward to seeing what you do with this. Thanks.